The explanation of this poem was did by Dr. Oliver. Thank you.
A poison tree. I was angry with my friend. I told my wrath did end. I was angry with my foe. I told it not. My wrath did grow. The speaker of the poem, William Blake, tells us that when he was angry with his friend, he simply told his friend that he was annoyed, and that put an end to his bad feeling. But when he was angry with the enemy, he did not air his grievance to this foe, and so the anger grew. And I watered it in fears, night and morning with my tears, and I sunned it with smiles and with soft, deceitful wiles. In the second stanza, Blake turns to the central title metaphor of his poem, likening his anger to a tree that he watered with fear and resentment. Then, more curiously, he says that the false smiles he put on whenever he saw his enemy acted like sunlight helping a tree to grow. By bottling up his anger, he made it worse, and by putting on soft, deceitful wiles, his anger continued to grow and morphed into something more devious, the need for vengeance. Why? The implication of this poison tree is that anger and hatred start to eat away at oneself. Hatred always turns inward, corrupting into self-hatred. Because the speaker was forced to hide his anger, it made him act in a deceitful and false way, and thus his anger for his friend led him to despise himself for being driven to act deceitfully. And it grew both day and night, till it bore an apple bright. And my foe beheld it shine, and he knew that it was mine. An apple sprout from this poison tree of anger. The apple bright attracts the attention of his enemy, who then sneaked into the speaker garden one night and ate the apple from this tree. When the speaker finds this enemy the next morning, his foe is lying dead under the tree, having eaten the poison fruit. And into my garden stole, when the night had veiled the pole, in the morning glad I see my foe outstretched beneath the tree. This powerful and curious little poem is about the power of anger to become corrupted into something far more deadly and devious if it is not aired honestly. The enemy may have stolen the apple and trespassed on the speaker's property. He stole into his garden after all, but he was deceived into thinking that something deadly and poisonous, the speaker's anger, was something nice and tasty, the apple. What are we to make of this rather involved metaphor? One possible interpretation is as follows. Blake is saying that representing our righteous anger makes us scheme into finding underhand ways to get back at our enemies, and consciously or unconsciously we end up setting traps for our enemies in order to bring them down. The apple represents such wily and devious vengeance. It is significant that it is an apple that grows from Blake's poison tree, and that the speaker's enemy steals the apple, because this conjures up the Genesis story of Adam and Eve being deceitful, persuaded to eat the fruit from the forbidden tree of knowledge. Satan, disguised as serpent, is the one responsible for cajoling Eve into eating the fruit, which is commonly depicted as an apple, like the apple in Blake's poem. The fall of Adam and Eve take place, of course, in the paradise that is the Garden of Eden. Blake's Edenic Garden is where his enemy meets his end. These parallels raise Blake's parable of repressed anger and vengeance to biblical heights.